Hi, I'm Ryan Gupta, and this is 5-Minute Theology. Today we will be studying this question: what is the meaning of the 153 fish in John 21:11? Many Bible scholars have presented different theories about it. Let's look at a few. Jerome, a 4th century Christian and theologian, believed that the 153 fish represented all the species of fish, and it was a symbol of all the races of people in the world. Augustine, another Christian theologian, thought that this fish miracle represented all kinds of men being saved by the gospel. Some Bible teachers suggest that at the time of this event, there were 153 nations in the world. So the 153 is a reminder to the disciples to take the gospel to all nations. Those are some views that scholars presented over the years. However, I believe there's a more compelling explanation based on the context of this passage. Let me share my view and the supporting evidence. One, I believe that the 153 fish has two meanings. One, the number 153 in Hebrew, Gematria, means I am the Lord thy God. So what is Gematria? Gematria is a system whereby each Hebrew letter represents a specific number. So for every Hebrew letter, there's a number attached to it. So you can take the letters in a name and add up the numbers connected to those letters, and you will get a total. So again, when you add up the words in Hebrew, I am the Lord thy God, you will get the number 153. So those reading John's use of 153 would immediately make the connection. John does the same thing in Revelation 13:18 when he said, "This calls for wisdom. Let the person who has insight calculate the number of the beast, for it is the number of a man." So here we see John using Gematria in Revelation. The second meaning of the 153 fish is this. The fish represents Peter's fishing business that he went back to after the crucifixion of Jesus. The key is to understand the question that Jesus asks Peter. Let's look at it. In John 21:15, it reads, "When they had finished eating, Jesus said to Simon Peter, 'Simon, son of John, do you love me more than these?' 'Yes, Lord,' he said, 'you know that I love you.' Jesus said, 'Feed my lambs.'" When Jesus asks Peter, "Do you love me more than these?" he is not asking Peter if he loves him more than the other disciples. Jesus is not comparing Peter's love to that of other disciples. Jesus is asking if Peter loves him more than these fish that represents Peter's fishing business, which he relied on after Jesus' crucifixion. So how do we know this? Well, it becomes evident when we consider the following points. One, the context fit. The passage is not about comparing Peter's love for Jesus to that of the other disciples, but rather Peter's choice to follow Jesus wholeheartedly, leaving behind his fishing business. Two, Peter's choice. It wasn't the other disciples that Peter chose over Jesus. Instead, it was his fishing business that he went back to after Jesus was crucified. He had put his confidence and security in his fishing business. 3. Jesus was addressing Peter in that very moment, urging him to make a choice between following Jesus or continuing with his fishing business. It was a critical decision for Peter to make. 4. We have to consider the fairness of the other disciples. If Jesus had been asking Peter if he loved him more than the other disciples, it would have been unfair to put Peter in that position. Peter didn't know the hearts of the other disciples, and issues like this had already caused quarrels among them earlier. Jesus would not have encouraged such a situation that could lead to boasting of the other disciples and also disputes. Consider the context of the passage. it becomes clearer that Jesus was addressing Peter's fishing business when he asked, "Do you love me more than these?" You can imagine Jesus pointing at these fish and then asking Peter, "Do you love me more than these?" Also, one of the main focus of this passage is about Peter being reinstated as an apostle. And this is why John recorded certain things. Let's look at it. John said that there was a charcoal fire because it was at a charcoal fire that Peter denied Christ 3 times. John tells us that Peter hauled a net full of large fish. This would remind Peter of the day where Jesus called him to leave his fishing nets behind to follow Christ. John tells us that 3 times Jesus asked Peter if he loved him, because it was 3 times that Peter denied Jesus. So when we put all of this together, we see that the number 153 reminds Peter of Jesus' divinity. "I am the Lord your God." Jesus is reminding Peter that he is the Lord, and Peter should have no doubts. At the same time, Peter has to choose Jesus over his fishing business. The 153 fish is saying to Peter, just as Jesus provided your needs before, he will continue to provide for you as you leave everything to follow him once again. So in conclusion, the 153 fish is a powerful reminder to us all that Jesus is Lord, and we are called to follow him wholeheartedly, leaving behind anything that might compete with our devotion for him. So what is the meaning of the 153 fish? In Hebrew Gematria, it would be saying, "I am the Lord your God." And at the same time, it represents Peter's fishing business that he had to once again leave behind to follow Jesus. Thank you for watching. God bless you.